To everyone else, I was the perfect omega. But only I knew that my fiancé couldn't stand me. To get out of our arranged marriage, he ran away from home and met some unremarkable beta. My father pointed a finger at my nose and screamed, "You can't even keep an alpha. What good are you?" It wasn't until that beta ditched him and vanished that my father started to have high hopes for me again. 6 years later, the beta came back and stole him away from me once more. But it didn't matter because I already had a new candidate in mind. And this one was a good boy, a puppy who would come running without me even having to lift a finger. The first time I saw Vincent was downstairs from Eric's company building. The weather was awful. The thick, dark clouds hung in the sky like a giant gray quilt, suffocating me. The wind was biting, yet I was only wearing a thin, white button-down shirt. When Eric walked over, I timed it just right, linking my arm through his and looking up at him with a smile. But I saw nothing in his eyes, no ripple of emotion. They were as calm as a still lake. It made the expression I'd practiced in the mirror 1,000 times feel especially pathetic. He smoothly unlinked his arm from mine, his eyes darting to look behind him. My smile dropped. It was absurdly funny watching the two of them, reunited but not daring to meet each other's eyes. I glanced over. The beta looked the same as he did 6 years ago, but it was the person next to him who caught my eye, because he was staring right at me, his dark, shining eyes burning with an intense, undisguised heat. I instinctively frowned. A look that direct had no place in the business world, and probably not outside of it either. What an idiot, unable to even hide his desire in a crowd. Eric's grandfather is looking for you. With that, I got into the car. What a waste of a good expression. Before the car pulled away, I looked back through the window, sizing the guy up again. He was handsome, but he had a clueless look about him. If he was trying to do business with Eric, he'd probably get eaten alive. Remembering his stare, I rolled up the window and glanced at my own perfect face in the reflection. Good. The little bit of confidence I just lost came flooding right back. That's Vincent, Sean's younger brother. We met when we were kids. Oh, so that's who it was. I knew he looked just like that dumb puppy from my childhood. So it was you. My little puppy, Vincent. Eric and I were basically childhood friends. My dad wanted to suck up to the Sterling family, and an arranged marriage was the best way to do it. As if by fate, our pheromones were a 90% match. Too bad he didn't like me and I didn't like him. All that acting we did day in and day out, I have no idea who it was for. But at least he had enough of a conscience to drive me home. The second I stepped out of the car, my father, Mr. Walker, was there to greet us. The moment he saw Eric, his blank expression melted into a fawning smile. "Thank you, Eric, for bringing Gavin home so late." Eric just gave a slight nod, not saying much. I rolled my eyes behind them. It was the middle of the day. Late my ass. Once the car was gone, my father's forced smile vanished. He walked inside, sat on the sofa, and said to me excitedly, "I'll pay old Mr. Sterling another visit in a couple of days. See if we can't get you two officially engaged again." The very mention of it sent a chill through my already bad mood. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and said, "That beta is back. Don't waste your energy." The words had barely left my mouth when Mr. Walker's face clouded over. The fury in his eyes was so intense I almost stumbled. He raised his hand, but the slap I was expecting never came. I opened my eyes, surprised. He was pointing a finger at my nose, his voice thick with disappointment. "You can't even keep an alpha, what good are you?" Then he stood up and left, his words seeming to echo in the empty living room. "Gavin, don't cry." My mother had come downstairs at some point. She touched my face, her own so full of pity she couldn't speak. "I'm not crying." I sniffled, taking her hands from my face and holding them tight. "He didn't hit me. Don't worry." Frustrated, I went out for drinks with my usual crew of troublemakers. I just didn't expect to run into Vincent there. He was looking around, clearly a little lost. Interesting. I hadn't even gone looking for the puppy, and here he was, sniffing me out on his own. I nudged my friend next to me, egging him on. "Just drinking is boring. Let's play a game." "All right, Gavin, what's gotten into you today?" You name it, what do you want to play? I pretended to think, then glanced in Vincent's direction with a tilt of my chin. See that handsome guy over there? Go tell him someone in our group wants his number. Guess who he'll pick? Whoever he picks has to drink. Dude, is that even a game? Don't you know you're total alpha bait? It's no fun if you rig it from the start. I just shrugged, neither confirming nor denying. My friend quickly went over to Vincent, tapped him on the shoulder, and whispered something. Vincent turned, his eyes lit up, and he walked straight toward me. Your friend said you want my number. Huh? Me? I feigned confusion and glanced at my friend, who just gave me a wink before scurrying off to another table. Here, add me. Vincent held his phone out in front of me, his eyes full of impatience. Seeing how eager he was, I suddenly lost interest. I shook my head. I don't. Oh, come on, it's totally normal. Liking me isn't something to be embarrassed about. I won't laugh at you, I promise. Just add me. I met his sparkling gaze and said honestly, I don't like you.
Impossible.
Then do you like that Eric guy? Just mentioning that pretentious prick pissed me off. What's it to you? I snapped back. So, do you like me? What? Didn't I just say I didn't? Did he just selectively ignore that part? Well, I like you. In fact, I bet you're pretty captivated by me too, man. I admit it, you did it. I've fallen for you. I stared at him like he was an idiot, but he didn't seem to notice at all. After a moment, he gave me a look that said, don't worry, I get it, took my phone and added himself. When we were leaving, he offered to drive me home, and I didn't refuse. He chattered away the whole ride, but the closer we got to my house, the quieter he became, lost in thought. Finally, he couldn't hold it in any longer. Have we met before? I glanced at him. He scratched his head sheepishly and explained, I'm not just trying to hit on you. I swear. I feel like I've been here before when I was a kid, and I just keep feeling like I've seen you somewhere. No, I said without hesitation, looking away. Really? I guess I must be remembering it wrong then. We're here. He got out first and opened my door, holding his arm out like a gentleman. I rested my hand lightly on it and gave him a smile. Thanks. Get some rest, sweetie. He wiggled his phone, gave me a wink, and leaned in to whisper in my ear, call me if you miss me. I didn't answer, just walked straight inside. Upstairs, I looked at his contact info on my phone, then leaned against the window, watching his car drive away. A sick sense of satisfaction washed over me. Looks like the puppy's memory isn't so bad after all. But that wasn't necessarily a good thing. The time he was talking about was right after I first came to the Walker household. He had been there for a party with his grandfather and stumbled upon me, filthy and hiding in a corner. That look in his eyes, I'll never forget it. It was the first kind look I'd received from anyone besides my mother in days. There was no pity, no disdain, just curiosity. Back then, he was like a prince, studying the little beggar who had snuck into his castle. He even generously offered me the candy from his pocket. I angrily slapped it out of his hand and glared at him, my eyes screaming, I don't want it. I'm not some pathetic stray you can win over with a piece of candy. Little Vincent picked it up, confused. He thought I just didn't like the flavor. You don't like it? He said in his small, childish voice. I'll go get you something else yummy. Wait for me. I didn't wait. I ran. I wasn't stupid enough to stay there and let him come back to witness my humiliation again. My childish pride kept me from realizing that would be the only time we'd ever meet. But it didn't matter. My path to adulthood wasn't a pretty one, it was better that he hadn't seen it. I don't need anyone to see my flawed side. Perfection should be my only trait. And besides, all these years later, you still can't take your eyes off me. And that Vincent is a very, very satisfying thought. Vincent, 6 feet 1 inch, S-class alpha, second son of the Booth family, not even a mention of his pheromone scent. The information was pathetically scarce. Looks like the Booth family protects him even more closely than I thought. That just makes it more exciting. The second son of the Booth family and the young master of the Walker family. Sounds like a perfect match. I curved my lips into a smile, practicing an innocent expression in the mirror. This is going to be fun. I have to play this part perfectly. I started accidentally running into him from time to time. It never took much effort because he was always looking for me anyway. Strangely enough, I found that I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't until Mr. Walker asked me about my relationship with Eric again that I realized I hadn't thought about him in a long time. No progress. He's in love with that beta. Father, you know that better than anyone. 2 years ago, Eric had personally called off the engagement in front of both our families. To shut my father up, he even took a huge loss on that North City deal. Mr. Walker was powerless. Even though old Mr. Sterling was still mad at Eric, he couldn't deny that his grandson had built a successful career on his own. Plus, he was the Sterling family's only heir, and his grandfather adored him. Our marriage was off the table for good. Seeing my father seething but still unable to let go of the scraps Eric threw him was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Humph, you don't have to remind me. For once, he wasn't angry. He rubbed his thumb against his forefinger. That alpha who dropped you off last time. When did you meet him? My heart skipped a beat as I tried to remember which time he could have seen us. That's the Booth family's second son. He's not interested in business at all, but if we play our cards right, building a good relationship with him could be. Father, I don't know him well. We just happened to run into each other. I cut him off, standing up to leave. I'm going to the office, Father. I have an important meeting today. Go on. He rubbed his temples and sank back onto the sofa, looking exhausted, his other hand constantly rubbing his thumb. That was his tell he was cooking up a scheme. I started the car, feeling a surge of irritation. My reflection in the rearview mirror was a tense, ugly scowl. While waiting at a red light, my phone buzzed incessantly with notifications. I'm singing here tonight. Come listen. Haven't seen you all day. Miss you so much. I rolled down the window, and a gentle breeze cooled my frustration. I didn't reply, just sped toward the office. The meeting was quick and decisive. No one dared to question me. Good. That's what gets my blood flowing. I opened my phone, put on my usual smile, and composed a reply. Okay, I'll bring a flower as a thank you for the invitation. Before I left, I plucked a particularly nice-looking flower from the vase in my office. It was a pink rose, the same scent as my pheromones. I tucked the flower into the breast pocket of my suit and went to meet him. When I walked in, Vincent was on stage, adjusting the pick on his guitar, his eyes constantly scanning the audience. The moment our eyes met, we both broke into a smile. I ordered a Long Island iced tea and settled in to watch him. Time seemed to stretch on forever, and all my troubles melted away. Suddenly, a commotion broke out. Someone shouted, "There's an Omega over there losing control. Everyone, put on your blocker patches." The performance stopped. Vincent came down from the stage and walked over with me to see what was happening. The disruptive alpha was already pinned to the ground, spewing curses. Let me the fuck go. So I smelled his pheromones. What's the big deal? I wouldn't even touch an Omega like that if he begged me. Who does he think he is, acting so high and mighty? I let out an irritated TSK, pushed through the crowd, and kicked him squarely in the stomach. I didn't hold back. The alpha gasped in pain, his face twisting into a hideous grimace. You think having the ability to mark someone makes you hot shit? Harassing an Omega is illegal, you ignorant piece of shit. Vincent came over and stood beside me. He stared at me for a second, then added, "Stop making excuses for being a creep. You're giving the rest of us alphas a bad name." The crowd murmured in agreement, all denouncing the man's behavior. I walked over to the sweating Omega and released some calming pheromones. His tense brow finally relaxed, and his pained expression eased. When the paramedics arrived, I stood up but felt a tug. I looked down to see the Omega was still clutching the corner of my jacket, unwilling to let go. I gently pried his fingers loose. He struggled to open his eyes and look at me, his lips moving in a whisper. I leaned in closer to hear him. "Thank you, sir," he said. "You're welcome." I ruffled his hair and took the rose from my pocket, placing it beside him. "Don't worry, baby. It's okay. I wish I'd picked out a better one for him. He really was a cute Omega." After the incident was resolved, Vincent and I strolled down the street. You were so cool back there, baby. But you kicked him a little too lightly. Next time, let me do it. I'll kick him so hard his own grandmother wouldn't recognize him. I don't want you to hurt your foot. His words made me laugh. I hadn't planned on getting physical, but I just couldn't help myself. But now, it seemed like my little slip-up had worked out perfectly. Wait here a second. I stepped into a nearby flower shop and had them wrap up an exquisite bouquet of pink roses. I'm sorry, I gave your flower away earlier. Huh? It's okay. He took the bouquet, looking dazed, and brought it to his nose for a sniff, a blissful smile spreading across his face. I thought it was turning into a pretty good date. But then Vincent looked up at the moon and said blankly, Gavin, I feel like what I saw back there, that was the real you. Are you hiding something from me? I think I'm starting to remember. We must have met when we were kids. A jolt went through me. My fingertips went numb, and a tremor ran through my whole body. Calm down, Gavin. Calm down. It was just once. It's nothing. You're still the perfect version of yourself now. No, I've never met you before. I cut him off, but my voice was shaking uncontrollably. I picked up my pace, trying my best not to panic. Why are you walking so fast? I can't keep up. He grabbed my hand, forcing me to stop. Don't be mad. I just think that side of you is more real, more alive. Of course, you're always adorable, baby. The cutest thing on earth. I dug my nails into my palm, forced a smile back onto my face, and looked him straight in the eye. What? He leaned in, his voice a low, teasing drawl as he theatrically slumped onto my shoulder. What if you're realizing you've fallen in love with me? Is that it? Well, in that case, you can just offer yourself up as payment. I'm willing to accept. He wrapped the arm that wasn't holding the flowers around me, his eyes crinkling at the corners, a playful smirk on his lips. I pushed him off, the tension in my chest finally releasing. I couldn't help but laugh. As I glanced at the man beside me, still cradling the flowers and muttering to himself, the question in my mind wouldn't go away. If what you saw earlier was the real me, would you still think I was cute? Would you still like me? Vincent, that old bastard, my father, was definitely up to no good. Not only did he dump a mountain of work on me that had me swamped, but he was always finding ways to make my life miserable. On Eric's 24th birthday, he dragged me to the party. I've never liked these kinds of events, so I used the excuse of going to the bathroom to slip out onto the balcony for some air. I lit a cigarette. A moment later, a stranger appeared. I frowned, quickly hiding the cigarette behind my back. Not wanting to share the space, I started to leave. But the man spoke, freezing me in place. Sir, please proceed to the last room on the left upstairs. Mr. Sterling is there. Mr. Walker said, he's about to go into his rut. Sir, you know what to do. I spun around and grabbed his collar, wanting to press the lit cigarette into his face. Is he insane? We're still in the Sterling's house. He pulled his collar free from my grasp and answered with his eyes lowered. Those are Mr. Walker's orders. I fought back the urge to punch him, instead stubbing the cigarette out on his suit lapel and shoving the butt down his shirt. I know, I said coolly. As I walked upstairs, I quickly ran through scenarios in my head, trying to figure out how to convince Eric to play along with me in this charade. Honestly, it was humiliating. Being pimped out by your own father, no one could face that without shame. Suddenly, for some reason, an image of Vincent popped into my head, reminding me of the video he just sent me. A light bulb went off. I had an idea. With some leverage, negotiating would be much easier. Eric wasn't surprised to see me. Maybe he knew exactly what kind of person my father was. Or maybe, when it came to me, he just felt nothing at all. Whatever the reason, negotiating with a smart person is always easier. Under my father's watchful eye, I successfully left with Eric. Looks like that guy is pretty important to you. I flushed, remembering the sound of Vincent's whining in the background of the video I'd just shown Eric. Gavin, baby, when are you coming to get me? I miss you so much. Even Chris, this beta, found an omega, but not me. I only want you. In the video, Vincent was filming the private room while complaining, and for a split second, he captured the beta being fed a drink by another omega. If you play along with me tonight, Mr. Sterling, I'll give you the address. What a coincidence. It was the perfect bargaining chip for my partnership with Eric today. He was taunting me, and I wasn't about to let him have the last word. You should worry about yourself, Mr. Sterling. Driving this fast, are you worried someone's going to steal your boy? Eric just snorted and didn't reply, but he sped up. He covered a 30-minute drive in 15. He didn't even have time to park, just tossed me the keys. By the time I got inside, Eric was already dragging the beta out of the private room, his face dark. I tossed him the keys with a snarky parting shot. You'd better move fast. After they left, I walked over to my puppy and patted his cheek. He blinked his eyes open, dazed. The moment he saw me, he started whimpering and buried his face in my neck. You really came to get me, Gavin baby, he mumbled. I thought you weren't coming. Boo-hoo. I looked at his suppressor patch, exposed to the air, and suddenly had the urge to peel it off and smell his pheromones. His nuzzling tickled my neck. I patted his back and, as if possessed, asked, Puppy, what do your pheromones smell like? The words were out. He froze. I froze too. I just meant to ask about his pheromones. How did the nickname slip out? What did you call me? He asked, his eyes hazy as he looked up at me. Nothing. Do you feel sick? I raised my hand to cover his eyes. I couldn't look at them. They were too bright. Even now, when he wasn't fully conscious, they shone like stars, as clear as crystal. They were always sparkling, ready to expose all my ugliness. He took my hand and held it against his cheek, his brow furrowed. For some reason, I saw a flicker of anticipation in his eyes. You're not being honest. I heard you. You called me puppy. He pouted, his lips brushing almost imperceptibly against my wrist. For a second, I had the bizarre sensation of being bitten by a vicious dog right on my pulse point. I tried to pull my hand back, but he held it fast. I glared at him, annoyed, only to feel a wetness spread across my palm. He extended his tongue, slowly and deliberately tracing the lines of my palm. The touch was light, but it sent a thrill through my entire body, my blood roaring for more. As if to say, it's not enough, not nearly enough. Looks like my baby likes this. A soft chuckle sounded by my ear. Vincent's eyes were clear now, and he pulled us closer. I suddenly realized I'd been played. At some point, he had seized control of the situation. It was an infuriating feeling. I disgustedly wiped my wet palm on his face. What else can you do besides lick my hand? Puppy? So gross. Is that so? Baby, lying is a bad habit. In every sense of the word. What did he mean? Did he know something? Before I could even process the suspicion, he let go of my hand and reached behind him. A moment later, the scent of unfamiliar lychees filled the air. It was clean and sweet, a comforting smell. I couldn't help but take a few deep breaths. In just a few seconds, Vincent turned his back to me, exposing his scent gland. The suppressor patch on it was peeling up at the corner. Master, can you help me stick this back on? I wouldn't want to cause a scene like that guy earlier. I held my breath, staring at his gland. So that was the scent of his pheromones. I fumbled to press the patch back down, a delayed reaction of heat and weakness spreading through my body. Shit, this was bad. Judging by my reaction, he had just triggered my heat, bringing it on early. The compatibility level must be insane. He turned his head, looking very pleased with my reaction, and scooped me up into his arms. Damn it, the puppy played me. When we got to the hotel, my gland was already starting to swell, my body itching. I desperately wanted to press myself against him, to find his gland and breathe in his scent, but the smell was already fading. He laid me on the bed and hovered over me, but he wouldn't give me the comfort I craved. Baby, you've been fishing for this little puppy for so long. Isn't it time you offered a reward? What? I mumbled, my mind hazy as I hooked my arms around his neck, desperate for his pheromones. But he just tilted his head back, leaving my hands grasping at air. Furious, I swung at his face, but my hand was so weak it left no mark. Give it to me. All the time we'd spent together, I'd been suppressing the urge to order Vincent around. Now, in this moment, it all came pouring out. Sometimes I think I really do have the same blood as my father running through my veins, just as nasty, just as obsessed with control. Now, that's more like it. Vincent lowered his head and kissed me directly on the lips. Saliva is a potent carrier for pheromones, and one of the best ways for partners to soothe each other. I didn't have time to think. I desperately drank in the pheromones from his kiss until the sweet lychee scent filled my senses. The cage around my heart shattered, and it began to beat wildly in my chest. As the kiss brought my senses back, one thing became crystal clear. Vincent remembered. He had to know that the dirty little boy from all those years ago was me. He was trying to trap me, using his innocent act to lure me step by step into his territory. He was forcing me to show my true self. Sensing my distraction, he gently bit my tongue. I responded in kind, soothing the fangs he had just bared. He really is one disobedient little puppy. The night was still young. I suppose the point of darkness is that when you can't see the light of day, you can finally unleash all your desires. When I woke up the next morning, my scent gland was aching. I ran my fingers over the series of little bite marks on my neck, a complex feeling washing over me. He had given me a temporary mark. I had always been so sure that no alpha would ever possess me, not even with a temporary mark. I would never let myself be dependent on an alpha to survive. The person next to me was still asleep. An urgent message popped up on my phone. It was from my mom. "Gavin, why didn't you come home last night? Your father said you were busy. Someone saw you leave with young Mr. Sterling yesterday. Where are you? Are you okay? Gavin, remember to come home." I wanted to let out a long sigh, but my chest felt stuffed with cotton, and I couldn't get the air out. "I'm fine, Mom. Don't worry. I'm just working late at the office. I'll be home soon." The person next to me stirred, rubbing his eyes and shifting closer, burying his head in the crook of my stomach and thigh. "Baby, why are you up so early? Are you hungry?" I put my phone down and pushed at his head. "Who told you to mark me last night?" He mumbled, his voice still thick with sleep. "You're the one who asked for it. I just wanted you to soothe me." "Well, how was I supposed to know that? I thought you were just desperate for me." His voice trailed off as he shifted lower, stopping in an awkward position. I quickly grabbed his hair, steadying my breath. "What are you doing?" He looked up, his cheeks flushed from being buried in the blankets, the tips of his ears bright red. But the desire swirling in his eyes was about to overflow. Suddenly, I couldn't be angry with him anymore. As our eyes met, his hands weren't idle. They quickly found their target and began to move. I was the first to break eye contact, trying to pull him up, but he pinned my legs down, making it impossible for me to move. "Let me make it up to you, baby." I reached out again to stop this farce, but my fingers only caught the ends of his hair, the strands pricking my palm and sending a wave of tingling numbness through my entire body. It was the most absurd morning of my life. When I got home, Mr. Walker was already waiting in the living room, with my mother sitting anxiously beside him. The moment she saw me, she let out a sigh of relief and rushed over, looking me up and down. "I'm fine, Mom." She patted my hand and opened her mouth to speak, but Mr. Walker cut her off. "A temporary mark. Very good." I immediately covered the back of my neck, but it was a futile gesture. "Where's Eric?" My mother gently pried open my hand, which was clutching my palm so tightly it was about to draw blood. She looked at me sadly. "He went back to his company. He has an important meeting today. Strike while the iron is hot." Eva checked. That beta was just back to discuss a business deal. He should be leaving again soon. I know. Once he got the answer he wanted, he stood up and left without a single question about my well-being. "Gavin, do you like him?" my mother asked, her eyes filled with a cautious hope. "Does it matter if I like him, Mom? As long as Mr. Walker likes him, that's enough, isn't it?" The color drained from her face, and she stumbled slightly. "I'm sorry, baby. Mommy's so sorry. Mr. Walker had other lovers besides her. I'd begged her to divorce him countless times, but she would just hug me and whisper, Gavin, you don't understand. He's still good to me. He still loves me. Her crying grated on my nerves. I decided to head to the office, but each of her sobs felt like a drop of acid on my heart. Does she not love me? She does. She loves me, but she loves Mr. Walker more. She always told me. An Omega has to be innocent, gentle, understanding, and find a good alpha, but groveling doesn't earn you any respect. I followed their instructions and tried to win Eric over for years. Sometimes I pretended so well, I almost convinced myself I was just another lovesick fool orbiting around him. And what was the result? He went against everyone's wishes and fell for a beta. Sometimes I actually admired him. He always put his own feelings first, always followed his heart. But Mom, the parasitic vines you grew didn't just wrap around my father. They trapped me, too. I began to quietly accelerate my plans. My father had been lucky in love his whole life, but he wasn't particularly bright. What good were all his alpha children? In the end, it was me, the Omega he once looked down on the most, who was running the company. Vincent started getting even clingier, even showing up at my office. Good. All my effort to accidentally leak my location to him hadn't been in vain. He himself was useless to me, but his family, the Booths, were incredibly useful. Partnering with Booth Corp would be a major highlight on my resume. Why are you so busy? You don't have any time for me. I pushed his wandering hands off my waist and continued working right in front of him, making no effort to hide what I was doing. Be a good boy. Wait until I'm finished. Fine. He stopped touching me and pulled out his phone to answer some messages. I was sitting in his lap, and he was holding his phone up past my armpit. If I just tilted my head down, I could see everything. And that's exactly what I did. He was texting someone saved as bro. I knew his brother, Sean, a big name in the business world. I couldn't help but curve my lips into a smile and reward him with a kiss. You'd better be telling him all about me. Good boy, Vincent. After work, since Vincent was leaving the next day, he suggested we go out and relax. He wanted to finish singing the song he'd started for me last time. Halfway through his set, an Omega came over to talk to me. Are you here alone, sir? It was the cute Omega from before. I glanced at the flowers he was hiding behind his back, then looked up at the stage. He immediately got the message. Oh, okay. Is he the one you like, sir? I'm so jealous. I chuckled and ruffled his soft hair. You're very cute, but I'm an Omega too. I don't mind. As if to prove his point, he thrust the flowers he'd been hiding in front of me, though he was still looking down shyly. It was a bouquet of violets and white hyacinths. The wrapping wasn't professional, but you could tell the person who'd made it had put a lot of care into it. I'm kind of starting to ship you too. Vincent had come down from the stage at some point and was now standing behind the Omega, staring at me with the sullen expression of a dog who's caught the scent of another puppy on its owner. Ah, I'm sorry. The Omega turned around, embarrassed, and bowed to Vincent before saying with grave sincerity, I want to compete with you fairly. I really like Mr. Walker too. What? He's an Omega. He can't give you a happy life, Vincent sputtered, pointing at me accusatorially. I know. Mr. Walker's pheromones smell wonderful. I really like them. He shook his head, showing his determination. I don't mind. I'm not that shallow. As long as it's him, I'd even be happy with a platonic relationship. I looked at the determined Omega in front of me, then at Vincent, who looked like he was about to explode with anger, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I suddenly understood why my mother always told me to be gentle and sweet. No one could be cruel enough to reject an Omega like this. Unfortunately, that kindness only extended to basic human decency. For a long-term relationship to work, you had to know every side of your partner and be able to accept all of them. I wasn't conceited enough to think that everyone could accept my dark side. Besides, one puppy was enough. Any more and he'd start showing his sharp teeth, and he wouldn't be a good boy anymore. I took the flowers from the Omega's hands and told him seriously, You're very brave, and I accept your sentiment, but I really can't return your feelings. But please be happy every day. I hope you find the one you're looking for. Okay. He hung his head, fiddling with his fingers, then looked back up. Can I have your number, sir? I promise I won't interfere with your relationship. No. Vincent couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed my hand and pulled me away. Are you upset? Yes, I'm upset. He turned his head away and pouted, his anger written all over his face. It's bad enough alphas hit on you, but now omegas are trying to steal my man. Too? I'm getting really pissed. You love me that much? I squeezed his puffy cheeks, casually trying to soothe him. Of course, I wouldn't let anyone I don't like get close to me, let alone kiss them or give them a temporary mark. Gavin, I love you. My hand froze. My fingertips started to tremble. What's wrong? Are your hands cold? He saw and took my hand, wrapping his own around it and blowing warm air into them. The heat stung my fingertips, and I flinched. An indescribable emotion swirled in my head. My heart ached, then began to pound furiously. It felt like a dragonfly had flown into my bloodstream, its wings brushing against every one of my nerves before finally settling in my heart. I looked at his silhouette against the lights, then pulled my hand away and looked somewhere else. Why are you crying? Huh? I blinked, and 2 tears immediately rolled down my cheeks. Vincent caught them in his hand. Was I actually crying? Okay, I won't be jealous anymore. Just don't cry, baby. I just don't want your attention on anyone else. You know I have to leave tomorrow. How am I supposed to leave feeling at ease like this? He started to regret his actions, anxiously watching my expression. No, don't be like that. It's not you, Vincent. It's not your fault. Don't be like this. Don't be so good to me. Did something happen? Can you tell me? Can I help? He put his hands on my shoulders, forcing me to face him. Our eyes met through the dim light, and it felt like all my little secrets became transparent lies under his gaze, with nowhere left to hide. I suddenly wanted to give up on my plan to use him for the partnership. Maybe I should just slow down. No, nothing's wrong. Are you sure? You don't need me? I started to panic, looking down to avoid his eyes. Really, nothing, I mumbled. I'm just tired. I want to go home and rest. I didn't sleep all night. The next day, I didn't see him off. I lied and said I had an early meeting I couldn't miss. I just sent him a text, telling him to let me know when he arrived. I never got a reply. Instead, I got some unexpected news. A partnership invitation from Booth Corp. My heart sank. Was this his doing? The prize I'd been craving for so long was finally in my hands. Even if it was stolen, I couldn't let it go. For a long time after that, I poured all my energy into the project. News of it eventually reached my father's ears. Well done, Gavin. I can't believe you actually got that Vincent kid wrapped around your little finger. The Walker family is going to reach new heights now. A marriage with the Sterlings is finally within reach. Not a single word of praise for my work. He still believed his son had gotten ahead through other means. Somehow, I wasn't surprised at all. But this time, I wasn't going to take it. I slammed my hands on the table and flipped it over. The feeling was incredibly liberating. What are you doing? Have you lost your mind? Felt so good. Every pore in my body opened up. I tried to steady my breathing but couldn't stop a laugh from escaping. I'm not going to marry Eric. I've had enough. I've had enough of you, you useless coward, always trying to climb the ladder by selling off your own son. You make me sick. What did you say? I'm your father. This company is mine. Yours? Go call a meeting and ask who in the Walker Corporation still recognizes you. I own 55% of the shares, did you forget? You stole this company from my uncle, didn't you? You had the means to snatch it, but not the ability to run it. I honestly feel sorry for you. You, my father, choked with rage, raised his hand to strike me. I didn't flinch. I figured it would be payment for my disrespect. But the pain never came. I opened my eyes to see my mother standing in front of me, having taken the blow for me. Mom, are you okay? Get out of the way. I'm going to teach this ungrateful brat a lesson today. That's enough, Mr. Walker. My mother, usually so gentle, yelled, her eyes full of disappointment. Let Gavin live his own life. Of course, he wasn't going to listen. He stepped around my mother and came toward me. If you dare to lay a hand on him today, we're getting a divorce. Her words hung in the silence. My father stopped in his tracks. He knew that my mother was the cage that kept me here. Even a timid mother would be willing to leave the man she loved to protect her child. Mom, this time your vines didn't trap me. They became a shield. It had been a long time since I'd heard from Vincent. His promise to come back in 2 weeks, to call every day, had vanished like a puff of smoke, as if it had never existed. But no matter how much I opened the window, I couldn't air out the scent. Every breath I took was a reminder that it had been real. This was the 18th day since he'd left. I was actually starting to miss him. After a moment, I came to my senses and laughed at myself, putting the cigarette back between my lips. Isn't this what I wanted? I got the partnership, I told off my father, and I played the puppy. And he even had the decency not to follow me. Couldn't be more perfect. So why did my chest feel so tight? When you're in a bad mood, you should blow off some steam. I called my friend and arranged to meet up. Familiar bar, but it was missing a certain singer. What are you thinking about? You're a million miles away. Nothing. Just in a good mood lately, I said, taking a sip of my drink. It was sharp and bitter. Really? Seeing that long face of yours, I thought you were about to go bankrupt. How come I don't see that alpha following you around anymore? Got tired of him? My hand froze. The glass tilted, spilling all over me. What is wrong with you? Don't tell me you actually fell for him? He handed me a napkin, his face full of suspicion. Of course not. It was just a game. You'd have to be an idiot to take it seriously. My phone suddenly rang. I handed the napkin back to him. Can you get this for me? I have to take this call. Sure. When I saw the caller ID, my eyes widened. I quickly answered. It disconnected the second I picked up. I didn't even get to hear his voice. Did he dial the wrong number? I was about to put my phone down, disappointed, when a new message popped up. Turn around. I whipped my head around and saw someone I never expected. The alpha was standing there, phone in one hand, less than 20 feet away. I could see his expression perfectly. There was no smile. His eyes were cold and menacing, his handsome face set in a dark, brooding look as he stared at me, his gaze deep and hostile. He looked like a completely different person. For a second, I thought I was mistaken. No, that was him. I followed his gaze and saw my friend, wiping the spilled drink off me, looking like he was nestled in my arms. I shoved my friend away so hard he stumbled and fell. I didn't care. I got up and walked toward Vincent. What are you doing here? He didn't speak. His silence made me nervous. I asked again, why didn't you text me? I could have picked you up. I wanted to surprise you. I didn't expect to almost give myself a heart attack. He tore his gaze away from my friend, his expression shifting as he took my hand and led me away. Outside, he walked quickly, then silently pushed me into his car. He didn't start the engine. I knew he was waiting for an explanation. He's just a friend. He's an Omega too. He was just not interesting, just playing around. Am I an idiot? He leaned over me, his eyes devoid of any warmth, his voice laced with a barely concealed fury. Shit, how did he hear that? No, that's not what I meant. Use me and then try to kick me to the curb. Gavin, how can you be so cruel? You know everything? The explanation died in my throat. I couldn't swallow it, couldn't say it. Fine. This day was bound to come. I asked you 3 times and you never told me. He leaned closer, his hand reaching up to touch my face. His voice was low and flat, making it impossible for me to guess what he was feeling. You're really disobedient, baby. You didn't send me a single message, not one phone call in all this time. So heartless. You didn't message me either. I tried to reclaim some ground. I practically wanted to pack you in my suitcase when I left. Wasn't that enough to show you how I feel? I was just trying to see where I stood with you, and what did I get? A dead phone. Not a single message. I honestly thought my phone was broken. I thought, you have that little faith in yourself? He pressed his thumb against my Adam's apple, desire once again coloring his eyes. I swallowed involuntarily and leaned in to kiss him, but he dodged me. You're gonna have to compensate me for this, baby. He traced my lips with his thumb, then pressed my head down, his fingers gripping the back of my neck, just like how I compensated you last time. You can start now. I have faith in your learning ability, baby. Any words of explanation were choked off. This little puppy was getting more and more out of line. My relationship with Vincent entered a strange new phase. He liked me, and I found that I quite liked having him around. Most of the time, I still presented my most innocent and harmless side to the world. But with him, I would always find my fangs showing through whenever he'd start whining. First, I thought you were a gentle little kitten. I never expected you to be a cunning fox. Is that so? I grabbed at the roots of his hair, my body arching into him as he wreaked havoc on my neck. Am I not a cute little kitten anymore? You are. A cute, but deceitful, dishonest little kitten. And does my puppy like that? He lifted his head and looked at me, the same way he always did. In his smiling eyes, there was a fiery passion, but also a deep indulgence for the one he loved. This time, I didn't look away. I didn't hide anymore. I leaned in and whispered in his ear, I love you. I didn't need his answer because I already knew it. He loved me. He loved not just my gentle, cute side, but my ugly, despicable side, too.